and we're going to get right on into TWIG. Welcome to TWIG, your weekly, geekly, family-friendly news show that tackles everything from an Elden Ring mobile game to an IRL Neuralink with some games in between. If you're listening on the podcast version of the show, be sure to give us a good review. Click that like button if you're on YouTube, or come and listen live on Twitch every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern. Hey, also, by the way, we did just launch a TikTok and a YouTube Shorts channel just for TWIG. Trying to diversify our content a little bit just because TWIG makes enough content that it could be published every single day of the week, and we simply do not have the time to post things twice. So instead, we're going to try this out for a little while. With that, we're going to start the show with what did you watch, what did you play, what did you read over this past weekend, what have you been getting into? Let us know in the chat. This really is an interactive news show, so we'd love to hear what have you been up to, what have you been getting into over the course of the past week. As for me, I have been watching all of the anime, just so many things. I feel like I am absolutely juggling anime right now, trying to keep up with the current season. Shangri-La Frontier is a ton of fun. Solo Leveling is always great. Frieren is one of the best anime ever made. And I also binged all of Has Been Hotel today, which was super fun from Prime Video. Some of you may remember a couple weeks ago, I mentioned that in my 3 things at the end of TWIG. I finally got to watch it. Absolutely ate it up. So incredibly good. So incredibly rated mature. Please do not watch it if you think that you are going to be, if you are a pearl clutcher or nervous about wordy nerds, do not watch the show because it is pretty intense. But it's a great premise with great voice acting, really amazing art, just a fantastic story, like 10 out of 10, a fantastic thing. I'm glad that I watched it. I am reading The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue for our book club here at Checkpoint. It's good. It's good. It's slow. It's not really my thing, but I'm enjoying it well enough. And then I have been playing so much, just so much Slay the Spire. Simply too much Slay the Spire. I finally downloaded it because I was in between games and kind of bored and like, I don't know what to do. And I have my phone and I noticed that with the Google Play Pass thing or whatever, I just had Slay the Spire for free. And so I was like, well, let's give it a shot. And doggone it, this game is addicting. I cannot stop playing it. It is so fun. I have rolled credits 3 times now, and I don't know when you do the thing in the game that makes it like really roll the credits, but I've technically beaten the game 3 times and I'm ready to find something different. I've almost maxed out the first character and we're going to go for the second one at that point because I'm so addicted. It's real bad. It's real bad. I love roguelikes and I love deck builders. And so add those 2 things together. Slay the Spire has completely warped my senses. Sneaky says, rewatching Avatar ahead of the live action series coming out later. Reading Wax and Wane series from Brandon Sanderson. And then playing an hour or so of TLU 2 when you have the moment. Yeah, that's a good way to work through TLU. Like, especially the latter game, probably the best way to do it is just to kind of sludge your way through the story one bit at a time, get sad, get emotional, and then let it pass. I think that's pretty smart. All right, folks, continue letting us know in the chat what you've been watching, playing, and reading. We're going to get into our upcoming things coming to Gamepass and PlayStation Plus for February, as we are right in the beginning of February here. So, starting with Xbox Game Pass, coming tomorrow, February 7th, we have Train Sim World 4. On the 8th, we have Madden NFL 24. On the 13th, we have Resident Evil 3. On the 14th, we have A Little to the Left. And then on the 14th as well, we have Bloodstained, Ritual of the Night, very appropriate for Valentine's Day mixed with Ash Wednesday. On the 15th, we have Played Up. And then on the 20th, we have Return to Grace. On the PlayStation Plus side of things, I believe everybody is getting a copy of Foam Stars, their Splatoon kind of clone. Roller Drome, which is a game that I really like the art for, but have no idea what it's actually about. Steel Rising, I know nothing about Steel Rising. And then if you are a PS Plus subscriber, you also get a PlayStation Classic costume set for Fall Guys, including Ratchet and Clank and Aloy. So interesting stuff going on with that one. Let us know if any of those are exciting for you. As for me, I am glad to finally get to play A Little to the Left without buying it. I wanted to play that game, but I didn't really want to invest in it, and it seems like a game that's going to take up, just a little bit of time. So maybe I'll be playing that come Valentine's Day. And the other ones I'm kind of mid on. I've played Resident Evil 3 before, fantastic game. I couldn't care less about Madden. I'm not going to play a train game. Bloodstained, I feel like I remember the trailer for that. I feel like that was a trailer that I made fun of at one point, but Who could say? With that, we're going to get into our next news story. This one is about Elden Ring. Tencent is currently developing a mobile adaptation of the widely acclaimed game Elden Ring, though progress of this project is reportedly slow. According to Reuters, the company aims to model the Elden Ring mobile game on the gacha style, free-to-play format seen in games like Genshin Impact, which relies heavily on in-app purchases. However, this approach contrasts sharply with the original Elden Ring's design as a single-player premium action RPG, presenting significant challenges to Tencent's vision. Meanwhile, fans of Elden Ring are eagerly awaiting the release of the much-anticipated DLC, Shadow of the Erdtree, with recent back-end changes on Steam hinting at its potential arrival. Despite these developments, both the game's developer From Software and its publisher Bandai Namco have yet to make an official announcement. The news comes amid Tencent's broader struggles to replicate its success in the mobile gaming sector, with adaptations of established PC and console titles, highlighted by the recent cancellation of an unannounced Nier mobile game. I enjoyed Elden Ring. I cannot imagine playing Elden Ring on my phone. I did throw this one in for Bwish 150%, and actually the next one a little bit too, just because I thought it was pretty crazy to see these random stories that were so Bwish themed this week. Yeah, so I'm curious about this. I don't know what they would do with a mobile version. I don't think that gacha games made out of real games are typically very fun, but maybe. I think they should probably be pushing the DLC harder. I also don't. I think that Elden Ring was a pretty done game. I mean, granted, there's like some story things they could have done, but like, it's an incredible experience that really did what it needed to do. And I don't know. I'm of the opinion that I think that more games need to just end instead of continuing being like live service games and just continue coming out. Although we'll talk a bit more about how that's probably not going to be the case here in just a moment. Next up, turning to the Twitch side of things, Pokimane Anise, a leading figure on Twitch with 9.3 million followers, has announced her departure from the platform after 10 years, making a significant moment in streaming culture. She reflected on her time streaming popular games like League of Legends, Fortnite, and Among Us, expressing gratitude for the moments and love she received. Twitch acknowledged her departure warmly, stating that she will always have a home on the platform. The move raises questions about her next steps, whether she will join other streaming platforms like Kick or YouTube Gaming. It seems like YouTube, where many streamers have migrated amidst Twitch's challenges. Twitch, owned by Amazon, is undergoing a rough patch with layoffs and financial instability, as CEO Dan Clancy revealed the platform is not profitable and mentioned a shift away from offering lucrative deals to retain streamers due to the unsustainable economics. Pokimane's departure comes at a time when Twitch is striving to right-size and ensure long-term sustainability without relying on substantial financial support from Amazon. Yeah, so this is a rough go for Twitch. It feels like every single time they start standing up again, they get knocked down. It's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy to see Twitch just continually get beaten up for the past 2 years. I feel really bad for Dan Clancy because I think he seems like a super motivated, mostly humble, definitely visionary leader in the space, and is willing to roll with the punches, is willing to make some changes and kind of get down in the mud with the streamers, and just is not being, maybe because of the history of the differences between streamers. I don't know what exactly has caused this kind of tension, or if it's just that Twitch is a bygone thing, but it is very interesting. It is very interesting to see how all of this is going. And yeah, I feel for Dan Clancy because I think he really is trying his best. And I think that Twitch really is trying their best. And I think they've done a lot, but it just hasn't gone there. All right, next up, we're going to get into some Elon Musk news. Elon Musk's Neuralink has achieved a significant milestone by installing its first brain-computer interface, or BCI, into a human patient who is reportedly recovering well from the procedure. Founded in 2016, Neuralink's mission is to enable humans to interact with technology through neural signals, potentially revolutionizing communication for individuals with paralysis by allowing them direct control over external devices. The company received approval for human trial of its precise robotically implanted brain-computer interface. An interface does not start with an E. System in September 2023. Which involves a robot performing surgery to implant 1,024 electrodes into the brain to record and transmit data, translating brain activity into intended movements. Musk announced the successful implementation on X/Twitter, teasing the potential for their first product telepathy to control devices through thought. This breakthrough hints at future possibilities, such as improved communication speeds for those with severe physical limitations and restoring sight or mobility to individuals with spinal injuries. Neuralink's transition to human trials follows experiments with animals and underscores its ambition to lead in the BCI field, despite facing scrutiny over animal welfare. Yeah, it's a very interesting thing to consider the full ramifications of this. It is very difficult for me to deny Tesla's role in modernizing EVs and like taking them to the next step. And like, yes, are they like a bit dramatic? Yes, they're a bit dramatic. Are they almost like Apple culture kind of mentality? Yes, but they definitely made it more mainstream than they would have had they not existed. I don't know if it would have taken longer. I don't know if somebody else would have stepped in. You can't know. But regardless, they were the first that I remember really hearing about like modernizing it, making it mainstream, making it popular, making it interesting to have. And so I think that paving the way once again is not surprising for Elon Musk. I do like that they're at least naming the accessibility stuff. They're at least naming disability stuff, and hopefully they will continue to explore that. It's also important to remember that even though Elon Musk is the namesake of this, Elon Musk is not the one doing the work here. Maybe he is doing some of the work. I'm not going to debase him any more than I need to because I am not in the room, but this is a team. This is a company. These are people working hard. And I'm excited for the possibility of it. I don't think this is the mark of the beast. That is not ever a thing that I will think about these things. I do think that they could have chosen a better name than Neuralink, but it's fine. It's fine. And calling their first product telepathy is hilarious. And okay, it does get down to like, okay, we're gonna do this stuff, and we're gonna make the nodes that we're gonna make. Tesla is a silly name. Like that's kind of an extreme name in and of itself. So yeah, it is what it is. I hope that this goes in all the right ways, and I hope that this is a continued success and we start seeing more impact on disability and maybe a bit less luxury line for this one in particular. You aren't wrong. I'm just salty about Tesla's turn towards silliness and all this great tech becoming a billionaire's vanity projects. Agreed. And you'll stop being salty in the chat. You're all good. We do have to remember these things, right? As we're considering doing good, doing no harm, and striving to grow. If the leaders of companies are doing harm, then we need to call it out as we see it. If they're just being trolls on the internet, that's a different story. But whenever we see things, we need to say something and do what we can in any way that we can. And as best as possible, hope and pray and try to direct technology in a way that might improve livelihood for those that are disabled, for those that are not capable because of anything that could be. They mentioned vision as being one thing that they were hoping to look through. So I think we just have to hope for the best and continue to push forward the narrative that we want this to be a thing that does good. With that, it's time for the recap of the PlayStation State of Play. We're going to start with the big news. Death Stranding 2 now has the full title. It's now Death Stranding 2 On the Beach, a continuation of the Death Stranding series by Kojima Productions, featuring Norman Reedus and a new antagonist group. A trailer showcased a variety of new and returning characters along with unique gameplay elements like a chainsaw guitar hybrid weapon. We also got a look at yet another Kojima game. Physant, I think, is it. A new spy game, meaning this is the third Kojima project that we've announced in the time of like the past year. So maybe he needs to slow it down just a little bit. He's a visionary. He's a smart guy. He thinks a lot of thoughts and makes a lot of things and tells a lot of stories, but might be time to let the foot off the gas just a little bit. Rise of the Ronin got another in-depth look, as well as set for release on March 22nd. The Until Dawn remaster was confirmed to be coming out. Stellar Blade, which is a deep dive into the action game from Shift Up, is set for an April 26th release date of this year. Dragon's Dogma, also releasing March 22nd. We also got a look at something that I'm very excited for, Sonic and Shadow Generations. We're going to be seeing more Shadow the Hedgehog this fall, which I think is probably just getting us hyped for Sonic the Hedgehog 3. So I think they're really leaning into the Shadow message this year. Silent Hill, The Short Message, is a new free-to-play Silent Hill spinoff from Konami that I hear is not doing too hot. We finally got another look at Judas from Ken Levine, the creator of BioShock, looking at more of that, showing off some of the aesthetic and gameplay behind that. V Rising is coming in 2024, an isometric action game with fantasy survival elements. Dave the Diver will be making its way onto PlayStation in April 2024 with a Godzilla crossover event. We also saw more of Zenless Zone Zero. We got a look at the VR installment of Metro 2033 called Metro Awakening VR. We also got an announcement of Legendary Tales for PlayStation VR. We got another look at Foam Stars with its release being very soon. And then we got a look at Helldivers 2, which was what kicked off the event, a multiplayer shooter coming out on February 8th, right around the corner here in our announcements. So pretty exciting stuff there from the PlayStation State of Play. I thought it was pretty good. If you're thinking to yourself, hey, I can't help but notice, where was Final Fantasy VII Rebirth? Yeah, exactly. They did not talk about Final Fantasy VII Rebirth at all. Instead, they said, hey, we're going to have a whole other direct. And I think that happened this afternoon. So they decided to do a whole thing just for Final Fantasy. They're very excited about the second game in what I believe is going to be a trilogy for Final Fantasy VII. And I don't know. I haven't seen anything from it. I don't plan to watch it. I don't think I need an extended gameplay. I feel like I've seen enough of Final Fantasy VII, and I'll play it when it comes out. And we'll talk about it then and there. Welcome in, Wizen. All right, next up. Talking about Xbox. Amid growing speculation about Xbox's future direction, platform exclusivity, and the potential release of exclusive titles on other platforms, Microsoft Gaming CEO Phil Spencer has announced a forthcoming business update event, which is scheduled for next week. This event aims to provide clarity on Xbox's vision moving forward, addressing community concerns and rumors about games like Indiana Jones and the Great Circle and Starfield, potentially launching on the PS5 after initial exclusivity periods on Xbox and PC, of course. Recent discussions with the Xbox community have been fueled by reports suggesting that several Xbox exclusive titles, including Hi-Fi Rush and Sea of Thieves, might also be released on other platforms. This strategy indicates a shift from a focus on hardware exclusivity to developing an expansive software ecosystem, diverging from the more traditional exclusive focus strategies of competitors like PlayStation and Nintendo. However, the exact date of this event has not been disclosed, at least as of the time of this writing. It may have been at this point. But it does seem like we are going to get something out of Phil Spencer soon about a new pivot in the direction of Xbox going forward. I'm a little nervous. They bought everybody, and now they're acting weird. So I don't know what's going on. And the world of tech has been such a kerfuffle anyway, with all of the firings and hirings and changing of leadership and people leaving and new people stepping in. So it's all strange to begin with, but I have no idea what in the world Phil Spencer is going to say. I don't know how it's going to change the face of gaming moving forward. It could be a very dramatic press meeting and change things forever, or it could just be like, yeah, look, we're figuring it out. I don't know, but I'm very interested. I like Phil Spencer. I like the way that he delivers the message and the vision of the company. So I'm super intrigued to find out what that press conference looks like and what he ends up saying and announcing about the future of Xbox going forward. So let us know your thoughts about any of those news stories, if anything sounded interesting out of those or made you curious. But with that, we're going to be getting into everybody's favorite segment of the show, Cryptic Critiques. That is right. It is time for Cryptic Critiques. This is where I give you a review, or I give you 3 one-star reviews of an arguably 5-star game, or at least a game that is much beloved. And I will let you try and guess in the chat, what do you think this game could possibly be based off of the prompts? You could keep it in your head. You could type out when you got it, whatever you want to do, whatever works best for you. It doesn't really matter much to me. But this is our 3 prompts, 1-star prompts for a arguably 5-star game. Prompt number 1, a really good story, but the game is so realistic that it wound up hurting the gameplay. Prompt number 1, really good story, but the game is so realistic it wound up hurting the gameplay. Prompt number 2, it's a game about getting on a horse and mashing the A button for hours at a time. Prompt number 2, it's a game about getting on a horse and mashing the A button for hours at a time. If that one didn't give it away. Prompt number 3, so I found a guy in the woods with a horse, and when I started talking to him, the horse kicked him in the head, and he died. I stole the horse, but then the cops found me, and I died. Other than that, this game is boring. It's so good, so specific, So specific. Yes, you are both correct. It is indeed an easy lob RDR2 Red Dead Redemption 2, the sequel. I thought about going with the first one, but I wound up going with the second one. It had more reviews all around, so Red Dead Redemption 2, indeed. They're pretty great. They were pretty hilarious. Lots of people had some funny takes about this one in particular. I find that happens with Rockstar games. I feel like people are like down to clown on them in a way that's not so like mean, but instead is just pretty accurate descriptions of like the flaws of the game, even though these games are so very well beloved. So interesting stuff. Let me know, when did you get it? Did you get it on the second prompt? Did anybody get it on the first prompt? That would have been a really tough one. What's up, Chill Will? Welcome in. We are just getting into our next segment of our news show here, which is, of course... That's right. It's time for To the Discord. This is all of the news that was submitted by you on our Discord server onto our news show here for the Week in Geek. So we have 3 news stories submitted tonight, 1 by myself and then 2 by Twyla. The first one is about Jason Schreier. Jason Schreier is set to release Play Nice, the Rise, Fall, and Future of Blizzard Entertainment on October 8th, 2024, diving deep into the story behind the once celebrated video game developer known for hits like StarCraft and World of Warcraft. This book promises an exhaustive look at Blizzard's journey from its glory days to its challenges, including PR nightmares, a hostile takeover, and a significant lawsuit, culminating in a $69 billion acquisition. Drawing on interviews with over 350 individuals, Schreier explores the company's culture, the impact of corporate decisions, and the creative and ethical struggles within. He underscores the importance of pre-orders for the book's success and invites readers to support his ongoing work by securing their copies early. He also posted a FAQ on his Substack. So if you don't subscribe to Jason Schreier's Substack, you should. I think he's great. I really enjoy Jason and his circle of friends and reporters quite a bit. So I try to keep up with all the things that he does. I'm very excited for this book. I've read all of his books so far, and I think that this one sounds like a very interesting one. He does a good job of telling the story of burnout in the gaming space and talking about the professional side of things. In this particular FAQ, if you take the time to go and read it, apparently there is some kind of kickback happening on Jason Schreier, saying like that he was withholding information about sexual assault and things like that. And he came very clear and was like, with receipts, as they say, of like moments where he did come forward when he knew that he could come forward, and explained a little bit of how reporting works, how journalism works, and how you can't just come forward with every single source, but instead sometimes you have to wait for a source to go official or to go live or for a lawsuit to end or for a court case to end or any of those things. So I think he's a stand-up guy and does a good job of pretty transparent reporting, and I'm super looking forward to this book. I have not pre-ordered it yet, but I think apparently I need to because he asked me to, and I'm going to buy it anyway. So, why not just go ahead and do that? Let us know if you're planning on buying this book, if this one sounds interesting to you. I'm particularly excited about it. Next up from Twyla, a recent report by Griffin Gaming Partners in collaboration with Rendered VC reveals a significant trend in the gaming industry. 95% of game studios out of 537 surveyed globally are either currently developing or planning to release a live service game. This 2023 Game Development Report highlights the industry's shift toward maintaining long-term title success through live services, which involve regular updates and content releases. With 66% of respondents acknowledging the necessity of live services for sustained success, the report sheds light on the evolving nature of game development. Unlike traditional game development cycles that span 2 to 3 years, live service production extends beyond 5 years, focusing on continuous planning, adjusting, and enhancing player experiences through new features. The desire among live service teams for more rapid content development is also noted, with preferred schedules ranging from weekly to bi-weekly for operations updates and bi-weekly to monthly for game content updates, marking a significant acceleration in production pace compared to traditional game development timelines. So I'm loath to read this. I think it's a real bummer to see live service games continue to pick up and continue to be the thing that everybody thinks they have to do. I understand it. I get it. Like, it makes sense that this is the way that the game development arm has turned, but it bums me out so bad because I don't think live service games are my type of games. It's not what I want from gaming. And so the fact that it continues to be the normative experience with everybody feeling like they have to do it, it just depresses me. It makes me, I guess... In a weird way, it makes me excited for the future of indie games because I know that I'm not the only one that doesn't want this. And so if 95% of the game development studios themselves are pushing this kind of scenario, then I have a feeling that a lot of the creatives are going to leave and go start their own studios or go start working on independent games and make something outside of this weird normative experiences that we've created for ourselves. I don't know why this has become the norm, but it has. And I hope that if it does continue to take this turn, that at the very least, it'll mean that the quality will also step up and that we'll begin to see more interesting things out of it. Maybe VR could change the face of gaming here by making live service VR experiences. But as yet, it's just kind of a bummer to see that this has become such a pervasive mentality that it's all that people want to do. Seems tough because if you can't capture and keep an audience, how will the game maintain success? Says Sneaky. Yes, I really think it does come down to dollar bills at the end of the day. And I think that it's just clear from the game development perspective that is what makes money is games as service. And regardless of audience, like you can have a small audience and as long as you have games as service, you're raking it in. And so it's so frustrating. It's such a bummer to see this kind of thing just continue taking over, but it's just kind of the reality of the industry within the capitalistic system that we live within. And so all that we can hope for as people that are trying to do good, do no harm, and strive to grow in this space is to hope that we can continue to push for good treatment in workspaces, for good severance packages of all these people being fired from their jobs, of all these people being laid off, and try our best to keep a good positive face forward and to make sure that we're doing no harm to game developers, instead acknowledging that it is the companies themselves that are making these decisions or that are making these calls, and it is the culture itself that is kind of pushing this motif forward. So we can try our best to stand against it, step against it, and put our wallet where our mouth is. If we really don't want to support things, then don't support them. And if enough of us don't support them, then they'll stop being made that way. So it's a weird thing. It's a weird scenario to dance between. And it just bums me out just because I feel like of all the live service games that I know of, the reason I use Destiny 2 is because it's the best one. And I guess you could argue like a League if you consider that a live service game. Like there is the Blizzard experience of people that are playing games, but yeah, it's weird. It is weird. It's a weird thing to dance between, but I'm hopeful at the very least that if this is the case, that it will push the quality forward, will assure more jobs and more. Yeah, LoL is definitely live service, even if the base game is free. Yeah. Because it thrives off of in-app purchases and things like that. So it's, yeah. Oh, yes. Deep sighs for the game development industry. With that, let's go into another deep sigh, except I guess a sort of more exciting one. Pocket Bear, the studio behind the breakout game Palworld, is spending an eye-watering £378,000 or $500,000 monthly on server costs to ensure uninterrupted service. A move humorously noted by CEO Takaro Mizobe as potentially bankrupting the company. This hefty investment highlights their commitment to reliability, especially after Palworld's early access launch attracted over 19 million players on the Xbox Series X and S and PC, quickly becoming the biggest third-party launch in Gamepass history. Despite a rocky start due to server overload, the game's popularity has soared, hitting 1 million concurrent players on Steam and selling over 8 million copies within days, underscoring the team's dedication to providing an exceptional gaming experience at any cost. I fell in love with Palworld pretty quickly. I've since kind of fallen off a little bit. I've played it a couple mornings for the past week, but for the most part, my interest has kind of faded as I've gotten closer and closer to level 50. I think that it has its flaws, but it sure is an interesting game. It sure is fun, and man, that gameplay loop is addicting. So I got real into it there for a while, and I think that it's hard to not knock it is hard to knock the work that the team has done. And especially, I really, like, my game would crash every now and again, but it never made me wait to like log in. Like I never got the like Overwatch 2 launch where there would be like, you're number 100,003 in line and you're going to wait another 3 hours and 10 minutes until you get into a lobby. Like that experience never happened. And so kudos to them on, as far as a buggy game and early access game, an incredibly successful launch, and clear to me that the important factor for them is maintaining that kind of trust of the gamer base. So I think that's great. I think that's a good thing to celebrate and to highlight, to see game companies doing what they need to do to make sure that their community is well supported. So With that, that's the end of our To the Discord segment of the show. If you would like to submit news to us, simply join our Discord, !Discord in the chat. And every Monday, I post a question over an Ask Questions, Get Answers channel in which you can provide us news. And if it gets selected, then it'll make next week's show. With that, let's get into my favorite segment of the show.
At this point in nerd history.
That's right. It is time for At This Point in Nerd History. We have a few games coming out here and a few movies as well. Pretty good week. So this is everything that came out on this exact day, February 6th, throughout time and space. In 2022, we have the game Sifu, which we actually played on stream. It was super fun. I beat that game. It was a very good time. 2014, maybe mobile gamers might remember the game Threes. Have you ever played Threes? You definitely might recognize it if you peruse the App Store very often. It was released in 2014 on this day. Chrono Trigger was not released for the first time, but it was released for the Nintendo DS back in 2009. 2006, a game that I've never played but have seen the cover for a million times, Drill Dozer, was released on the GBA. And then in 2004, a game that I did play a lot, Sonic Heroes, was released in the UK for the GameCube in 2004. And then in 1989, a classic that I have also never played, The Adventures of Tom Sawyer, arrived on, I believe, Famicom. So pretty exciting day throughout time and space. Some big titles there. Let's go through some movies, some nerdy movies that came out in the past time. It is always interesting to me. So I love looking at the movies that have come out because it cracks me up realizing that all of these movies typically come out on a Friday night. And so you pretty much know it's going to be like every 6 years or so. And you're going to see all the movies that came out with each other. And it cracks me up seeing the movies that came out with each other. So here we go. 2015, 3 movies came out together. The SpongeBob movie, Sponge Out of Water, Seventh Son, and Jupiter Ascending, an interesting 3 to put together. And then in 2009, we saw Coraline, real classic. 2009 also saw Push, which some of you may remember, the somewhat superpowered found footage movie. And then The Pink Panther 2. Interesting movies to consider that somebody would have been in the same theater and seen those 3 right next to each other. I just find it always funny to realize what games or what movies come out on the exact same day. And with that, let us know what you found most interesting, what you might have played. Have you played Threes? Have you played Sonic Heroes? Those are my 2. Oh, Sifu. And as far as the movies that I've seen, Coraline is probably my favorite. I did enjoy The Pink Panther with Steve Martin, right? We need to come up with a Barbenheimer. Every time we do this, we need to come up with a Barbenheimer for the movies that opened on this day in history. So that has been At This Point in Nerd History. Let us know if any of those excited you. But with that, we're going to get into our next segment of the show. All right, it's time for upcoming releases. This is where me and a guest, but today just me, typically highlight 3 things that are happening or have happened in the next week that are maybe happened very recently, because I'm saying that because one of mine is. Something that I'm very excited about coming out in the next week. Foam Stars, I don't know if I'll play it or not, but I'm definitely interested to see if it picks up on Twitch. That would be the way that would probably get me to play it, is if it takes off. You know what? I just thought of one. So I was going to say Olin Rogers' Patreon, and I was going to talk a little bit about that, but instead, it's Next Fest, baby. Did you know it's Next Fest? It's my favorite one-third event of the year. 3 times a year event. Triannual event Next Fest is happening this week. If you've never heard of Next Fest before, it is a Steam event where they just list so many demos, and you can play the demos over the course of the week. Some of them keep past the week. Some of them really do stick to that 1 week timeline. So go find out what demos are there for you. Go play them, enjoy them, have fun with those. We won't have much time this week, unfortunately, because I've got the next thing on my item, but I always enjoy Next Fest, and I enjoy seeing all the stuff that Jake plays and tuning in with that. So Next Fest on Steam happening right now. That is another exciting upcoming release. And then the third thing is the reason that I'm out of town is I'm going to a Fresh Expressions conference for the next couple days. If you don't know what Fresh Expressions is, it is a fresh expression of the church. It is something that is designed to be out in the community, meeting in third spaces typically, and creating new small groups of church, bands of church that might gather and connect outside in the community. I consider Checkpoint to be a sort of fresh expression, only our intention is very much to create a church. But definitely the work that we do going to cons and the work that we do here on Twitch, I consider this a kind of fresh expression. I consider Jesus Loves Nerds a fresh expression. Like, there's a lot that we do in this space that could very much be considered that. So I don't know if maybe 30 will be there, but plenty of people will. It's in my neck of the woods. It's going to be 3 days, and we're going to have lots of, it is the national gathering of the United Methodist Fresh Expressions movement. So I'm excited to be there, excited to get to rub elbows with some very, very fun and smart people and learn more about the stuff that they're doing. So that's where I'm going for the next 3 days, and that's why we won't be having stream on Friday, or if we do, it'll be very late in the afternoon. I haven't decided yet. Depends on how tired I am and if I'm still this. So those are my 3 things. Let me know if any of those 3 things excited you, if you're excited for them as well, or some things that you're excited about coming up in the next week as well in the chat, or come hang out with us after in the Discord for a little bit until I get this video edited. and then I lost my complete train of thought. Let me know your 3 things afterwards in the Discord if you're down to join us after the fact, where we always hang out after stream on Tuesdays. But otherwise, we're going to get into our final segment of the show. It's time for our meme of the week. For those of you that didn't know, next Wednesday is both Valentine's Day and Ash Wednesday on the same day. Ash Wednesday is a Christian holiday, a day on the Christian calendar that kicks off the season of Lent, in which we imbue ashes on our foreheads, typically in the shape of a cross, and remember that we are dust. And it's an exciting, exhilarating, fun, definitely not a melancholy event, but it is funny to see that it happens on February 14th this year. So Trombone posted this clip from Barbie. Do you guys ever think about dying mid-dance scene? And this Facebook user here said, the energy I'm bringing to February 14th this year as we simultaneously celebrate Valentine's Day and Ash Wednesday. Very good, very good. 10 out of 10 meme. You'll love to see a good meme. And especially one that is so pertinently relevant to the times that we are in with Barbie and also with some special events coming up. So we do not have any plans currently for a Ash Wednesday anything here at Checkpoint, but I hope that if you are near a church or if you're involved with the church, that you'll be able to take in that moment. I personally love Ash Wednesday. It's one of my favorite things that we do as the church, even though I was kind of ragging on it a little bit for being a bit of a bummer. I very much enjoy it. It's one of my favorites. So I hope that you'll be able to participate in it as well. If you would like to be considered for our meme of the week next week, be sure to join our Discord. Again, that's !Discord in the chat, or it'll be linked down below depending on where you are watching this after the fact. And be sure to go to our Memes and Goofs channel. I go to all of the past weeks of memes, and I typically see the ones that are the most active, the most liked, get the most responses, what have you, and those are typically our meme of the week. With that, it's time to wrap up the show and finally let me breathe again. This has been TWIG, your weekly, geekly, family-friendly news show delivered live on twitch.tv/checkpointchurch every single week, keeping your family connected to the world of nerdy news. If you watched this far, then you likely enjoyed this one. So remember to give us a 5-star on your podcast app, click that like button, and recommend the show to your favorite nerds. Folks, we're going to be thanking our subscribers that help make this show possible. So thank you to Christina P, X Mayfly Buish, Nerd Pastor Nate, Splash Force Gaming 2, H-Man 1009, Sneaky Pigs 633, maybe 30 Bats, Twilight 27, Deacon Shannon LS, Strange Done, Kung Fu Carl 21, Yakeem 4752, Zando Calrissian, Jate Live, Wizen Lemur, Pineapple Pope 4, Perspective, and of course, every single one of you out there that are watching the stream, supporting the stream. We thank you for doing this and for continuing to support us. We are here because you are watching and because you are supporting us, and especially our subscribers there who are putting their money where their mouth is and helping us to sustain this thing going forward. With that, is there TWIG next week? Yes, there will be TWIG next Tuesday, 8 p.m. on twitch.tv/checkpointchurch. And with that, we're going to end this with our 3 things that we believe true about every single one of you out there. Whether you believe in God, don't believe in God, go to church, don't go to church, hate God, hate church, we still believe those 3 things to be true about every single one of you. Number 1, that God loves you, like really, really loves you. Number 2, we love you. We want community with you. And number 3, that you, yes, you matter. You are a person of sacred worth. The world is a better place. Why? Because you are in it. Folks, with that, until the next time that I see you, I look forward to seeing you then. Bye-bye.